Baal. Plus, we like to have lots of kids and lots of crops. And so they would be attracted to the god of Baal. And they gave themselves over to a degrading lifestyle that characterized Baal worship. And Jeremiah kept warning them that by turning away from God and worshiping these false gods, their lives would become abased. Their spiritual sensitivities to God would become dull. They would become weaker people inside. They would make bad decisions. Their nation would become corrupted, and they would become easy targets for their enemies and vulnerable to invasion. And so Jeremiah kept preaching and preaching to them that they needed to turn back. Well, these knuckleheaded Israelites did not like being reprimanded by this prophet. They wanted to live this heathen lifestyle without being hassled by this prophet who was calling them to return to God. And so they began plotting against him. Verses 18 and 19. Because the Lord revealed their plot to me, I knew it. For at that time he showed me what they were doing. I have been like a gentle lamb led to the slaughter. I did not realize that they had plotted against me, saying, let us destroy the tree and its fruit. Let us cut him off from the land of the living, that his name be remembered no more. So here was this prophet from God who was trying to help these people, these Israelites, avoid a total disaster. He was preaching to a bunch of knuckleheads who were so stiff-necked about carrying on this hedonistic lifestyle that they had become indifferent to the possible consequences. They were so far gone that they plotted to kill God's messenger so that they would not have to hear about the consequences of what they were doing. So what was the result? God gave them over to their rebellious ways. They became weak. They became easy prey for the Babylonian army, who eventually destroyed their nation and took them into captivity. And there's an important lesson to learn here. A nation that turns its back on God and gives themselves over to corruption and depravity will become weak and vulnerable. God does not want us to be knuckleheads. Jesus could see this knucklehead mentality in his own disciples. He knew he had to shake them up and somehow bring them into a place where they could begin to see their own knuckleheadedness and change their ways. As they were passing through Galilee, Jesus tried to explain to them the necessity of God's Son having to go to the cross and suffer and die, but then be raised from the dead. The disciples did not grasp what he was talking about, but they were afraid to ask questions. That fits right into the knucklehead profile, being afraid to ask questions. That's part of our human nature. I remember sitting in Algebra 2 class back in high school. Our teacher, his name, I believe, was Miss Becker. And she would go, whoa. She would be explaining the problem on the board and writing it down, and I would have no idea what she was talking about. But instead of raising my hand and asking the question, I foolishly just sat there and just realized, or just chose the direction that I'm not going to be embarrassed by asking a question. I'll just take the C or the D on the test. And I was a knucklehead again. But these disciples would not ask any questions. What did they do instead? This is what they did. They came to Capernaum. When he was in the house, he asked them, what were you arguing about on the road? But they kept quiet, because on the way they had argued about who was the greatest. So not only were these disciples knuckleheads for not asking questions and trying to understand the journey of Jesus to the cross, they were like junior high kids arguing about who was the best. I'm the best. No, you're the best. No. And so they were having this argument about who was the best. How in the world was Jesus going to intercede with this bunch of knuckleheads, and open their eyes spiritually to God's definition of what greatness was all about. This is how he did it. Sitting down, Jesus called the 12 and said, anyone who wants to be first must be very last, and the servant of all. He took a little child and he placed among them. Taking the child in his arms, he said to them, whoever welcomes one of these little children in my name welcomes me. And whoever welcomes me does not welcome me, but the one who sent me. He opened their spiritual eyes through the example of a child. First he said, the greatest in God's eyes are not the ones who want to be served. They are not the ones who want the place of honor. They are not the ones who want power. Rather, they are the ones who want to help other people by bringing God's blessings into other people's lives through service. These are the greatest. In God's eyes, it's not the proud who are the greatest, but rather it is the humble, because the humble are willing to deny themselves, and when we deny ourselves, we open our lives to the power of God. We yield our lives to the power of God. He says, these are the ones who are the greatest, the humble. Then he took a little child, and he set that child among them, and he said, we need to become like children. In fact, we need to welcome children, because in society, it seems like it is the rich and the mighty and the powerful that people want to welcome in. But Jesus said we need to be people who welcome the child, who welcome people who aren't deemed important, people who are just common people trying to get through life. Those are the ones that we need to welcome, because when we welcome the children, when we welcome just the common people in our lives, we are welcoming God. Now that's a powerful statement. So this morning, may God help us to become childlike and humble. May we become people who would rather serve than be served. And then may our eyes be open like the eyes of the disciples, so that we can do those things and build God's kingdom here and now. Amen. Let's turn to our final hymn.
Well, I would just like to ask one thing. My youngest brother was definitely a big knucklehead. He was someone who needed to lose weight, and he would never do it. And I'm sure you remember that you preached his funeral.
Did conduct his funeral, yes.
And he sleeps in Hollow Memorial Gardens right now. When he died, he was only 59 of a massive MI. And we still cannot get used to him being gone. So if you would just remember our family. Because the day we buried him, I said to him in his casket, I said, I should be there because I'm the oldest, not you. But I guess the Lord had different plans.
Let's turn to hymn 441. Take time to behold.